Hi guys, it's me Sarah talking about Pectus Excavatum again, and I wanted to do a 3-week check-in as I am 3 weeks away from getting my surgery for Pectus Excavatum, and I wanted to talk about how I actually got to this place where I'm finally getting surgery and what the surgery actually entails. So 2 years ago is when I finally decided to go see a doctor, and I told them, what was going on. I went to UF Shands and spoke to a pediatric surgeon there, and he basically was like, yep, you definitely have it. You're a perfect candidate for the surgery. Let's get you some tests and get this going. And obviously this was all really new to me. I had no idea what was really going on. So this was very surprising, and I was kind of reluctant to just jump into starting to do all these tests at the hospital that I knew were going to cost a lot of money. So they pre-approved me, my insurance did, for a chest scan, and then I talked to my insurance and I realized that that was going to cost me over $1,000 at the hospital. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and think about this and maybe get a chest scan done at a different place. So I left and I thought on it, and I thought about getting a chest scan, tried to schedule one, and I couldn't because my insurance couldn't figure it out that I got pre-approved and didn't do the chest scan. So this was like a year long of me trying to fight my insurance and telling them that this chest scan never happened, so it's okay that they pre-approved me for another one. So I think that's why it took me so long to finally reach this decision, because I was battling my insurance. So once I got that figured out, I went and saw another doctor. I wanted a second opinion, and I felt like the first doctor was almost like rushing me into it. He was so ready to perform surgery on me. So I went to Jacksonville to the Mayo Clinic and saw a thoracic surgeon there, and he was kind of concerned why I wanted the surgery in the first place. He was like, you don't really, doesn't seem like you have a lot of the symptoms. And I kind of told him like how I was feeling and just that I wanted to check it out. So he was like, okay, go get the chest scan first and then we'll keep talking. So I did, and when I finally sent it over to him, he was like, okay, you have a Holler index of 6, which I had explained normal person's pectus, and I'll show you in my chest scan here in a second that a normal person's chest is at like a 1 or a 2, and mine was at a 6. So anything above a 3.5 is considered severe, and your insurance will cover it. So that also was a big deciding factor to me. I was like, if it's gonna be below that, then I know my insurance won't cover it, then I'm definitely not gonna do it. I don't have over $60,000 to just throw away on a surgery that I don't know a lot about. So that definitely helped me make the decision, knowing that my insurance would be able to cover it, that I fit the description well enough, and that this is something that will benefit me. So I'll read a couple of the notes that the doctor actually wrote down after getting those tests back. So my first visit with him was in 2020 in the summertime, when we had just gone into COVID and I wasn't in school anymore. So I actually had time to do all these appointments. And yeah, he said, my Holler index is 6 on the CT. She's an adequate candidate for the Nuss procedure. She will need additional testing with pulmonary functions tests and an echo scan. So that was kind of the next step, was going to get an echo test and also a pulmonary functions test, which tests your lung capabilities. So I wanted to do those somewhere else so it wouldn't be so expensive. So I went to the closest hospital to do the pulmonary functions test. They have you breathe in a tube basically to see how much lung capacity you have, how fast it can come in, how fast it can come out. And then I also did my echo test nearby as well. So those came back, and here's what the doctor had to say about those. When I got my echo back, they noticed that nothing was really too wrong with that, so that I was happy about. My pectus doesn't really have a huge effect on my heart, although it's kind of slanted inside my body. But apparently I have mild MR and TR, and I think that stands for its mitral valve and tricuspid valve, I think, regurgitation. And basically what that means is I have a mild leaky valve in my heart. Most doctors say that that's not a big deal, that there's no reason to worry. But my doctor said that there's a possibility that that might be stopped after I get the surgery. And then for the pulmonary functions test, that was kind of a big indicator that the surgery would definitely help me. Some notes they said about that. I actually did talk to a pulmonologist about it afterwards, because one of the things that the doctor mentioned, that something about 60% lung capacity and possibility for obstructive lung disease. And that I was kind of shocked. I was like, okay, I definitely don't have asthma. I've never had bronchitis, like any of those kind of persistent diseases. So I talked to the pulmonologist about it, and he said there's nothing to worry about. Like, you definitely don't have any type of like asthma. You don't have an obstructive lung disease, but because of the pectus, it is restrictive. So that's what's affecting my lungs. So yeah, there was that 60% kind of lung capacity. And then his biggest concern was not that I couldn't take air in, but it was the way my air is coming out is not efficient. Apparently, because my heart is so pushed up against my lungs on one side, that on one side my lungs can't release the air, and air is getting trapped inside there apparently, and that could be affecting the function of my lungs. So that was really interesting to find out. So those are the main tests that you need to do before you actually can do the surgery, and those all cost money for sure. I do have insurance, but over the course of meeting with the first doctor, then the second, and then doing those 3 tests, the CT scan, the echo, and the pulmonary functions test, I had spent about $2,000, and that's with insurance. And I did that over the course of 2 years, so I still have not met my deductible for this year. I still have a max amount of, I think it's $2,500 left that I still would have to spend to meet my deductible. So when you're deciding to do something like this, try to knock it out all in 1 year, because just getting all the tests done is incredibly expensive. The pulmonologist, just that was like over $500. So I wish that there were things that they would tell you up front, but they don't. Your insurance, like my insurance, barely tells me anything, even when I ask them. And of course, the doctors don't know anything. So sometimes it's difficult because you're really in the dark with a lot of this stuff. So that was the process getting to the surgery. And now that it is happening, some things that I know are going to take place. Right before surgery, there's not really anything that you can do. They don't say like to prepare this or be in a certain physical shape or anything like that. That was a goal I had. I really wanted to get in perfect physical shape right before, but between school and work and everything else, I honestly have been slacking a lot, so that wasn't something that I was able to accomplish. I'm going to keep trying in these next 3 weeks to really get into shape as much as I can, but it was not a requirement or anything. So they say that you'll spend about 3 to 5 days in the hospital, and obviously those are going to be the worst times, the highest pain. I'll be under for about 2 hours, and the specific procedure that they'll be doing on me is the Nuss procedure. So it's where they make 2 incisions on either side of the chest, one small one for the camera and a slightly larger one for the steel bar that goes in. So it's basically like an immediate correction of your chest wall. So like braces, for example, they put a bar, around your teeth, and they slowly move it and move it. So this is like that, except it's happening immediately. They slide the bar in there and then they flip it around and boom, your chest is now correctly shaped. Obviously, it has to take a lot of time to heal. The bar does come out about 2 to 3 years. It really depends. A lot of the things for the surgery are kind of dependent on each person. For example, they do this usually on kids. Like, this is when people usually find out they have pectus and they get this surgery done a lot sooner than I did. And they put 1 steel bar. I'm getting 2 steel bars, so lucky me. Potentially more painful, more difficult, I don't know. Obviously my body's more mature, so they need to put 2 in to make sure that everything stays and forms properly. So I'll be in the hospital for 3 to 5 days, hopefully no more. But as soon as I can walk and get around, I'll be released from the hospital. They do something in the surgery where they freeze like 3 or 4 layers of your nerves to help with the pain, and then afterwards you're on narcotics for at least a month. So during that time is lots of rest and lots of walking. There's like a couple physical therapy exercises I think they have me do, but other than that, walking is literally the best exercise you can do to help recover and strengthen yourself after this surgery. So hopefully I'll be taking lots of nice walks, but no submerging the incisions, no lifting anything, no exercise, no sit-ups, like nothing for the first couple months. I think they say about 3 months is where I can start doing some light exercise, but no contact sports, no strength training or anything until at least 6 months. So it's quite a recovery process. They say that I can go back to work after 2 to 3 months. I plan to go back to work because I really don't want to start off the school year having a substitute and not me being in there in my classroom to really set the tone for the year. Like, that's the worst thing that could ever happen, so I really plan to be there. But it's going to be a really interesting first 6 months for sure. I have never done anything like this before. The biggest surgery I've ever had is wisdom teeth, so I have been under, and that really freaked me out. So we'll see how this one goes, kind of being totally normal and the next minute waking up in absolute misery. I'm trying not to think too much about the pain. If you go like research online, you find like all this scary stuff on pectus, like how it looks, and people saying that like the pain was absolutely unbearable the first few days in the hospital, so like things like that. So I'm trying to do less looking and more just thinking and meditating on this whole process and just being appreciative that I have been able to have really good health for the most part before, even though having this condition. So I just hope for the best and that this really changes how I feel afterwards. So I will continue to keep you posted. Please like and follow if you want to hear more about life with pectus.